to Adam Clanton and Adam Wexler, the A-Team.
A lot of good matchups this weekend in the NFL. Maybe none as important to us. Certainly none as important to us. But elsewhere around the league, there are some good ones. Broncos at Texans this Sunday. Colts at Steelers this Sunday. Chargers at Titans. Chiefs at Bills. There are quite a few games that will make the AFC standings look a little bit different when we reconvene on Monday, especially since all of those games will be Sunday games. To that end, Broncos-Texans talk continues. Cody Roark, nice enough to spend a few minutes here on Sports Talk 790. You got Adam Wexler and Adam Clanton here on the A-Team. Cody with Mile High Sports covering the Broncos there in Denver. Cody, I do spend a lot of unnecessary time watching press conferences. So
an inordinate amount of time.
I should know this answer, but when Sean Payton isn't throwing shade at Russell Wilson or the Cowboys defense, did he talk at all about why they have been so good late in games offensively and maybe not so good early in games offensively?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, for some reason, he's very coy about a lot of stuff. You know, he doesn't go into great detail with us. I mean, the philosophy that we always have with Sean, especially covering him every day, is at training camp, it's different. It's like a mirage. Like he'll feed us, he'll give us everything, and then he'll starve us in the regular season, so to speak. You know, he doesn't really give us any injury updates anymore. Yeah, and you know, for him, you know, he's always reflective, very much taking the coach speak approach about, you know, we gotta get off to a faster start, but never going into the whys of that. But yeah, I mean, for some reason I'd say the biggest thing he's revealed to us, to answer your question, has been trying to make Wednesday's practices feel more like Sunday. That's one thing that he's told us. Not sure what that looks like because we only get limited amount of viewing time. We get team stretch, individual period, but they have ramped things up. Players have told me that they've ramped things up at practice to make Wednesdays feel more like a game-like environment. So whatever that may look like is potentially paying off, at least this past week when they faced off against Dallas.
It's funny because all of these coaches, it takes an act of Congress to get any information out of them or to see anything like practice. It's just not going to happen in today's NFL. But specifically, you know, being someone that is around Sean Payton as much as you are, is it like, what do you think about the tenure now that you look back on that first year where Russell Wilson was there and it was just an unmitigated disaster and people were talking, they were using the L word. This guy's legacy is going into the toilet right now. And I think it's kind of crazy now to look back and see just how quickly, like a lot of things in the NFL, this has turned out to be, I think, more positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything kind of started with, you know, what you're talking about there, that 70-20 loss, that 50-point loss to the Miami Dolphins in week 3 of 2023. I think so much of that year, I mean, luckily Denver after that kind of went on a 5-game winning streak, but I think really after that, Sean Payton, you know, those conversations about legacy and, you know, he's cooked without Drew Brees. I think he took that personally in a sense and said, hey, I'm not attaching my name to Russell Wilson, you know, in terms of legacy. Sean believed that Russ's legacy obviously is falling off, you know, in terms of just not being a fit for what he wanted to do offensively. And that's why obviously he went out there and he got Bo Nix, a guy he feels like can do the things that he wants from an operational standpoint offensively. And so far the turnaround has been great. I mean, you know, Denver sitting at 6-2 is very nice. They're a couple plays away, you know, if they didn't commit a leverage penalty and that kick against the Indianapolis Colts gets missed, and, you know, Denver hangs on in that one. They're a crazy Justin Herbert fourth quarter miraculous touchdown throw away with pressure bearing down on him for potentially being, you know, a one-loss team to being undefeated. But this team also hasn't played their best. I mean, as you guys have seen too, this offense has been so up and down, minus last week against Dallas. You know, it took them a crazy fourth quarter, 33 points in order just to generate something there. The consistency factor has not been there, but hopefully they can build on that. And tough week to do it against this Texans defense that is so good. I mean, I've been watching them on tape this week, and they're one of the fastest defenses I've seen in the NFL so far this year. At every level, they got good speed. They close in really well. D'Amico's got those guys playing tough.
Not sure if you're aware of this or not, Cody. They have a swarm mentality here in Houston on their defense. They like to swarm to the football, and they talk about that quite a bit. Kind of a three-part question, but it's the same question on Bo Nix. What did you think about Bo Nix when he was the 6th quarterback drafted and went number 12 overall to Denver? What did you think about Bo Nix as last season and the playoff appearance came to a close? And what do you think about Bo Nix now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a gregreat question. Look, I'm a University of Oregon guy, so I had the privilege of watching Bo for 2 years, and in 2022, I even tweeted out, I said Bo Nix is going to be a very good player here for Sean Payton. This is after Sean was hired, obviously, in this is the year, 2023 when CU played Oregon. Living in Colorado, the CU Dion craze was so crazy at the time. CU fans actually believed that they were going to beat the Ducks, and I said, rude awakening's coming. But watching a lot of Bo, he's so good at protecting the football. Was one of the least sacked quarterbacks coming out of college. Coming in obviously last year, he got off to a slow start as a rookie through the first 4 games. Didn't throw his first touchdown until week 4 in a monsoon against the New York Jets, and then he just started to catch fire. For him, he's much of a learning. I think he learns quickly. Mistakes that he makes, he tends to cut those off. He doesn't make those same mistakes twice that often. And then this year, obviously a little bit of a slow start as well. And then he's starting to get things going here once again. So slow starter is found a way to get going. And I think that's the thing, is just trying to find consistency. But my biggest thing, and this isn't on Bo, the Broncos have, and it was crazy that they obviously had an offense that was top 10 in scoring last year. I don't know how that was possible without a run game. They didn't have a run game last year. The run game this year, when they've gotten it going, they've been very successful. They're obviously winning games. They're controlling the time of possession, the tempo, and the pace of the game. But when they're not running the football and Bo has to throw it 35-plus times, it's not good. That's not good for any QB in today's NFL. So I think the run game helps take a lot of that pressure off, and the Broncos' offense is less than one-dimensional compared to where they were last year.
Talking to Cody Roark of Mile High Sports here on Sports Talk 790. Broncos in town this weekend. You mentioned that the Texans defense essentially terrifies you. If you had to pick out one guy that if you're the Broncos offense scares you more than others, or is it just a collective effort here?
Well, I think there's a collective effort of guys. I mean, obviously, you always have to respect the pass rush there of Danielle Hunter and obviously Will Anderson. Those guys are fantastic players. I think for me, the one guy I'm saying, hey, try to avoid at all costs, that's Derek Stingley Jr. I mean, the last time these two teams played, Cortland Sutton did have a touchdown, but Stingley made that incredible play on a post pattern, jumping the route, that Russell Wilson threw late in that third quarter of that game a couple years ago. He's such a good player. In my opinion, I think it's Pat Surtain is the best corner in the NFL. I think Stingley, there's a really good argument for him to be that number 2 guy. I know Quinyon Mitchell's in that combo as well. I know, for Stingley this year, there's been some questions, about Jackson Smith and Jigba, the game that happened there. But he's a damn good corner. He's the type of guy I think you want to try to avoid throwing to. But unless you get a certain look that you like, he's the one guy I probably fear the most. And then Jalen Petrie at safety, I feel like, is definitely one of those guys that when you're trying to go up the seam or you're trying to go over the top, you got to watch out for where he's at.
I think we all know that their front is good, and since we are in the midst of a conversation that brought up Pat Surtain, how do you think that changes, or does it change anything that Vance Joseph wants to do defensively, specifically this week against the Texans, by outfitting a game plan that does not include Surtain?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you don't have the reigning defending player of the year, defensive player of the year in the lineup. It certainly changes things from, an operations standpoint. But Vance Joseph told us yesterday they believe in the depth that they have with all the guys at corner. They don't want to necessarily change things. Last year when Riley Moss went down, they actually changed their approach quite a bit. They're playing a lot of man coverage, 41% when Riley Moss was playing. When he went down with an injury, that dropped to about 32% of the defensive snaps in which he was out. They changed to zone coverage there. So they got guys that they feel like can play man-to-man. Obviously, Chris Abrams-Drain is second-year corner. I think we expect to get the start here on Sunday opposite of Riley Moss, and then maybe some sprinkling in of Jaquan McMillan and Jahdae Barron from time to time in different personnel packages here. I know obviously Houston's getting their receivers back this week, and Christian Kirk and Nico Collins. So that's going to be a tough test to not have PS2 in the mix here. But from my understanding is the Broncos don't want to change up, their entire defensive game plan, going into a week-to-week basis. You already know going into a matchup when Surtain's on the field, they're not going to throw to that side. So you know what side's going to get thrown to. Now that he's not there, there's 2 different sides that could get thrown to here in this game, and that's a perfect opportunity maybe for the Broncos to try to get some more interceptions. They haven't had a lot this year, so maybe those opportunities will present themselves a little bit more.
One thing that would be cool if he continues where he's playing at, the level when he returns from injury, is that more people will realize Surtain is called PS2, one of the great nicknames in the NFL. And I don't know that everybody knows that. So hopefully he gets on the field again soon and keeps playing at that level. If you want, we have allotted 10 seconds for you to make a prediction on the game.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a nail-biter. Obviously, a low-scoring game. I think Denver goes on the road this time. I think they fluster C.J. Stroud and find a way to create some havoc there, and they come away with a 3-point win.
We shall see if they hold on to first place all by themselves in the NFC West. Been a great start to the season. They're on a 5-game winning streak. And Cody Roark of Mile High Sports, we certainly appreciate you joining us here and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You got it. Broncos, Texans, noon, Sunday. They only lead that division by 1 game, though. Chargers and Chiefs are both favored to win their games. So it's an important game for both teams.
The A-Team on Sports Talk 790.